Good morning, and let's kick this off by saying happy International Women's Day last week. I know we're a few days afterwards, but we put this panel together in celebration of International Women's Day. And I have a saying in my house that every day is Women's Day. I don't need one day of the year, I need 365. So I would like to say to everybody who's joined us today, I celebrate you every day. And I am so grateful for the connections that I have in the Microsoft community. But today, the main topic of event, the main topic of our event is the question, are we still on mute? And that became a very popular phrase during the pandemic, or, oh, I'm on mute. I can't hear you. You're on mute. And the team at Women Talk Tech, who are bringing you this panel discussion today, of which we have one of our co-producers on, Elle Bush. She's going to introduce herself in a minute. And backstage, running everything in the background is Maddie Ewell. They're going to introduce themselves in a minute, or they'll introduce themselves at the end. But the team of Women Talk Tech, which is made up of Maddie, Ellen, myself, we posed this question about a year and a half ago. And we are actually very excited about the outline we have together for a book of some of the stories in the Microsoft system, not just Microsoft, but across the tech sector. Hey there, Maddie. And we think we're still on mute. And I want to open before everybody introduces themselves. I just want to open with some stats just for everybody who's on the call today. The high tech industry with respect to gender equity lags, and I would say diversity across the board. 45% of women who start college as STEM majors leave to pursue another degree. Over 56% of women in tech are likely to leave the industry before mid-career, and STEM degree women face more unemployment challenges post-graduation. So I know that is across the STEM network, but I would agree that the stats we've been seeing are suggesting that we just don't have enough women in tech and enough diversity in tech. So that's why we are hot on this topic. Are we still on mute? So that's my introduction for this morning. My name is Marie Weiss. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the CEO of Marketing Copilot. And I have an unbelievable group of women assembled today that span the ecosystem, and I'm excited to introduce them. So Kim, I'm going to ask you to kick it off if you don't mind. Kim, introduce yourself, your company, and just tell us about your place in the tech sector.
Okay. My name is Kim Congleton. I am COO, CIO, co-founder of New View Strategies. I started in tech over 25 years ago, and I was not a computer science major. I was I was a couple of different majors, but I've always gravitated towards tech because it was the thing that challenged me the most. And it was also the thing where I could be creative. Maybe not, I'm not good at painting or drawing, but, I like to think that I've come up with some creative solutions. So I've been, systems admin, developer, director of IT, CIO, all those different things. But all along the way, it's really just been my love of tech, data, and really just solving problems.
Yeah, that's a common theme. I love that. I love that. Okay, now Elle, one of our co-producers on the podcast, they are new to tech, and so Elle, introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. I am Elle, and yeah, I would say I'm fairly new to tech. This past week, I celebrated 2 years at Marketing Copilot, where I work as a marketing specialist, and I am, as Marie said, the co-producer and editor of Women Talk Tech. Yeah, new to the tech sector, definitely not something I thought I would end up in. I have an English degree, so I think that, which surprisingly, a lot of people in the tech sector have English degrees. I would say that's like something about the tech sector I was pleasantly surprised with. So yeah, new to this world, but have definitely, like Kim, enjoyed it for my ability to be creative. And yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Wonderful. Thank you. And we're going to circle back to Elle in a minute because Elle has really led the charge within our group with respect to AI. And we're going to talk about how AI is or is not shaking up the playing field. Jennifer, could you go next and introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you for having me. I've been doing technology for over 30 years and got into it because I just love making solutions, and technology is the way to fix things. And I think that, people that like to find solutions to issues and problems quickly and always evolving, it was just a natural fit. Through the years, I have a business, Technology Management Concepts, and we're in the Microsoft channel. And I've been, sort of growing the business during this time. This past year, had a very large investment, and have had some ability now to pay it forward. So I'm very excited to be here and have this conversation, because we've been women in tech way before we knew we were, and we want to know why there's not more.
Great. Wonderful. Sherry, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Sherry Griffith-Dunn. I'm the founder of Cyprotech Technologies Incorporated. I am actually a retired leader from corporate America. I've always been that individual who's been focused in on business continuity, disaster recovery, and my motto has always been, do it until you break it, and then let's put it back together better. And so when we had COVID, it was a time when I really got to utilize my tech skills. We had deployed hundreds of thousands of employees home, and a lot of these individuals didn't even know how to use their computer and or put it together. And so how did they set it up? And I really found that I truly enjoy doing that. And so I took it a step further and had the opportunity to learn how to write code, and fell in love with it. My minor is in math, and so it kind of just all fell very natural for me. And then I went ahead and decided that I would create an easier way for people to protect themselves with cybersecurity, especially small businesses. I realized that at the time, cybersecurity was something that was out of scope. It didn't make sense to businesses that didn't have large enterprise corporation. And I wanted to understand why, and then create something that was feasible for smaller businesses to understand and to adapt to. And so that's what I did in creating CyberSecure 360 Visibility. So it's exciting to be here today, and looking forward to shedding the light on why we need more people who can think innovatively in the tech sector.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I love your backstory. That it's great because you're, I wouldn't say late to tech, but interesting time to be pivoting and doing something else. Kelly, introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. And Marie, thanks for having me here. My name is Kelly Mazur. I'm the marketing director at Evenica, and Evenica is a Microsoft partner that focuses on commerce technology. I've worked in marketing for the past 15 years, and I started my career doing marketing for hotels and tourism boards. From there, I went into doing marketing for real estate, and then dental and healthcare before I found my way into tech. So I think when you look at marketing, it's primarily a fairly heavy on like how many women are in marketing. If you look at any marketing department, and those industries that I started my career in were predominantly female. So it has been a little bit of a change going to a male-dominated industry here in tech. So I'm excited to talk a little bit more about that and share my experience coming from a largely female-based companies into one that is primarily male.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think your backstory is really interesting as well, because you really took a leap of faith. And I remember when you first started in the channel, and I remember conversations, and it's like, what are you doing here? This is awesome to have you, but you're one of these things is not like the other. And I find that that's pretty much the story with all of the women that we've celebrated on the podcast. We've done over 120 episodes now. There's this story of sort of stumbling into tech and not necessarily putting it on the roadmap as the North Star, saying, I want to be in the tech sector. And I, have sat with the team at Women Talk Tech and said, why are we still on mute? And so that's where we're going to open today. And that's the question I'm going to pose to all the panelists. Why are we still on mute? Why do women only make up 23% of the tech sector still at this point? And I'm going to start with Jennifer on this one, if you don't mind. Jennifer, why are we still on mute?
Well, it's a question that I'm wondering too. I don't think women typically don't speak up. So are we not heard? Is my first, sort of thought in it. But mainly, I think it's you had it right. Women come into tech. It's that we don't stay in tech. And so, they said that we lose girls in the 10th grade. There's been a lot of statistics about that. It's not cool. Robotics, you're sort of different. And that's been improving. And now, we do have a lot of women in college. More women go to college now than men, and they start, but they don't stay. And that's a challenge that I see everywhere. And what I hear a lot is I hire women, or people want to count how many women they have, but you need women supporting women too. And it's a scarcity. So until we pretty much have the top people be women and enough women that women support each other, I think it's a challenge to get us to have um, a breadth, to have really span, to have equality. And it's still who knows who in a networking industry. And we don't network in the same way. I think that's something to ask for jobs, call people and see if we can move to their organization and sort of, this group, we don't know each other. Most groups like this do, and the male side of it. So I just think really it's something that we have to model, we have to continue to push, and we have to be aware of. And that's why this conversation is so important, because if you said to the general friend of yours or public that we have only 22% of women in tech, I don't think they would think that, because the way that big tech shows, they pull out their women executives, they're on the front pages. So I think it's sort of an unknown issue too that's not spoken about, and I would like to figure out why we don't speak about it more too. Is it shame or?
I know it's interesting, and when FemAI launched last October to create an alliance of women in the AI channel, they talked about there only being 20% of women in leadership roles. So if people are, sort of bringing those executives out to showcase them, we've noticed at Women Talk Tech, Elle, I think that report we had when they looked at the top 10 hottest CEOs coming up the channel, and not one was a woman, and it just sort of begged that question. Sherry, I want to ask you the similar kind of question, but being somebody who decided to jump in late career, what's your observation about why we're still on mute?
It's interesting. The other day I was in a meeting and I had a guy tell us women that we were all in that the perception is that men think better, that they're more innovative. And when Jennifer is talking about, are we speaking up for ourselves and are we heard? A lot of times it's no, because a lot of us women, we will move out of the tech sector to have families, to raise our children, because we don't feel that we have the energy or the strength to fight against what male dominated industry and boys club has been created. When you think about it, there's 2% of Black women who are in technology. And then when you look and go further into college sectors, most of them will go in college saying, okay, yes, I'd love to have a career in tech, but they're quickly shunned out. And a lot of that has to do with the stories that we're being told, what we're hearing, and not having the strength to speak up. But as you can see, women are extremely innovative. We are able to create phenomenal products because we can do something I think men can't, and that is see gaps and actually create solutions within those gaps. So we have a lot of work to do to continue to foster the next generation of young girls who are coming up, and to really encourage them that tech looks good. Like the tech is no longer the way it used to be, that you have to, be a geek or you have to look a certain way. We're here to tell you that tech looks great and it is flexible. It's perfect for a young mom. It's perfect for a young family because the hours that you can work are reasonable. I just think that we don't know. So platforms like this, speaking up, will really begin to help educate more people on the path of technology and to show them what it looks like when a woman is there.
I think that's a really good point. I've always been a strong advocate for representation. Kim, what do you think? Why are we still on mute?
I think, kind of to go along a little bit with what Jennifer said, one of the things we've been working on is like, why do people leave and how do we get them to come back? I will take a stay-at-home mom any day, and I mean, they're just amazing, right? They're juggling a household, they're juggling kids, and they want to work hard and put time in and do things that are meaningful. So I think we're kind of exploring like how can we get them engaged, and even if it's only 10 hours a week, or once their child goes to kindergarten, can we get them for 20 hours a week, and can we help them say, here's how I can be a consultant, and really kind of have that independence and build a career off of it for, hey, let's get you back in, let's get you interested in tech. And then once your child goes to school full time, yeah, we'll take you full time, or you've got a career now that you can take and move forward with. So I think it's really, as business owners, figuring out how do we be a little bit more flexible as well. Now, obviously, as a woman-owned business, we're going to gravitate towards that. And I think advocating for more flexibility and a little bit more creative ways to solve, like in our space, there's definitely a shortage of consultants, and we just keep seeming to trade the same ones. So I'd rather start growing some. If we can find some people in college or out of high school, and I mean that want to learn, that want a career in tech, I'll take those people any day.
Yeah. I want to give a shout out to Kim and the team at New View Strategies. They've started a nonprofit organization called Tech Unicorns, and Tech Unicorns offers to train women in tech and train young people in tech to come into the Microsoft ecosystem. It's not easy getting into this ecosystem. It's not easy doing these things, and they are working really, really hard. So thank you, Kim, for doing that. And I'm always so impressed with you and your team that you've really put something in place and you're making it happen. And so anybody who wants to talk to Kim about training in particular, she's an amazing resource and a go-to person for that. And thank you so much for doing that. Elle, as a new person coming into the tech sector, why do you think we're still on mute?
I think that's a great question. In all honesty, I think I landed in the tech sector completely by accident. Like I had no intention of landing here in a lot of ways, but I also think as a young person, where tech is so integrated into my life, it kind of made sense. A lot of, the tasks that I was handed when I first started at Marketing Copilot were very much so second nature to me. I think we're still on mute because there's not a strong understanding of what the tech sector is either. There's not a strong definition to give, young women like myself of what a role in technology can look like. And then within the sector, I think it's really difficult, as a young person to sort of navigate, how do I learn new skills and how do I, make connections, because the tech sector is so big and there's so many components to it. And when we say the tech sector, we mean 150 different things. And I think that lack of specificity really does act as a barrier for finding your place, and finding where you could be relevant. And as a highly creative person, I strayed away from the tech sector because I thought that it was all coding, or all math or all, software. And that didn't interest me. But, one of the things that my co-producer and I say every day is that we get to do one highly creative thing almost every single day in our jobs. And that's also not something anyone told me. So I think there is, to a certain extent, a lack of awareness of what it means to be in tech before getting into it. But then once you're into it, there's also sort of a lack of support and mentorship in place. And this goes back to the point Jennifer made, where men convene in different ways than women do. And for so long, women have also been excluded from these spaces. So mentorship doesn't happen in the same ways. And thus, women don't always have access to mentorship opportunities because often they're done in these very casual settings that women aren't invited to in the first place, like at drinks or on the golf course, etc. So it's not only about, better educating those coming into this sector, what it might mean to work in it, but also putting in supports for those already in the sector to, upskill, reskill, learn something new, learn how to navigate it, because I think that's something that's, really lacking. And I think this is a problem in most sectors where we just don't have strong mentorship in place for young women to learn.
And I think the other side to mentorship, what Jennifer touched on, is sponsorship. It's one thing to, sort of paint a picture and help somebody from a mentoring perspective, but to sponsor them and actually say, I'm going to help you get this job here, or I'm going to recommend you for this, or I'm going to, take you out and show you the ropes about how you're going to make it to the next level in your career. It's just not happening. And it's not there, and it can be really frustrating. Kelly, I see you nodding, and I think there's a couple points there that Elle made that you probably wanted to jump in on. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything that all four of you has said, but Jennifer made comments about not having women stay in tech, and I think that can be very true. It's hard to retain that female talent, especially when we're looking at a woman that's maybe earlier in her career. So maybe she's just finished school, she's joined the tech industry, and we need to find ways to keep those women in our industry. So that's a problem right there. Sherry brought up another good point, and that it is so intimidating to be further along in your career and then join the tech industry down the road, especially when maybe you have children at home, a mortgage, maybe two mortgages, and it can be kind of nervous to make that big hop from one industry that might feel secure into one that is so unknown and can feel quite intimidating. And then Kim, I love what you said about, stay-at-home moms and working moms. I don't think enough women realize how flexible this industry can be. We all work very hard. I think a lot of us work a little more than 40 hours, but my gosh, do we all have a lot of flexibility. On majority of the calls I'm on, and I'm on back-to-back calls most of the day, there is a lot of people working from home. There is a lot of male and females who are balancing home life with work life, which is not available in a lot of other industries. I look at some of my friends that might work in manufacturing or finance, and they're home a lot less than I am. And this is a wonderful privilege that we have in this industry. And I think it's a great opportunity for more women to look at. So I think we do have this combination of how do we retain the talent? How do we attract the talent? And then that sponsorship as well. How do we help pave the way and support other women when they're in this industry? And I think that is where events like this and communication come into play, and in-person events that we have as well. And I think anytime that we're at conferences, kind of bringing women together. And I know for me, something I've been focusing on the last year is trying to encourage women in our industry and women in my organization to do more public speaking as well, because I think it's a great way to get that exposure, and we need more of it. We need more women doing this.
Well, as I said, it's about representation. Now, speaking of live events, I know many of you were at big get together back in the fall, and we had a panel discussion on this topic, and we mentioned, does tech need a rebrand? Do we need to position this differently? And I remember asking the audience to make it their mission to go out and talk to 3 women in their lives, young, old, whoever, and ask, have you ever considered a career in tech, and why or why not does the tech industry interest you. I'm curious to know, with the people on the panel today, have you had some conversations in the last 6 months? Have you gotten some feedback on that? Does tech need a rebrand? Jennifer, let's kick it off with you. And I hate to say this, Jennifer, but you're on mute.
Oh my gosh. In fact, listening, like, I think the same issue is in finance and a lot of other, engineering and different, things. I really think, the idea that we're moms or whatever, men now are having the same, type of thing. People are working from home and juggling it. And so, like, women are the hardest working people I know. It's like, really truly, and I really feel that it's not a rebrand. It's that we need to be powerful. We need to band together and create, people will respect us more if we're doing it. We're successful. We're here, and we have to band together to create a powerful lobby almost. And I think that right now it almost feels like we're trying to take a less than, and make equal, versus just, if we were band our power together, it wouldn't matter if we're called women in tech or, whatever. It's just really, we need to represent, we need to be out there, and we need to support each other in a way that creates some sort of, balance. And it's really, it's not a name. It's not changing the name. It's us changing the way we say it and we present, in that, why there are 9 guys on a team and 1 woman? Why, if there's 2 women, there's a lot. So it's not noteworthy, I guess. That's my goal. We should be out there on these teams. Come on, software developers that are women or men, no one knows the difference in the background. No one even knows who's working on the code. It's the team itself, creating these teams and just showing up, showing everyone, yeah, you can do it too. The other, I help women of all career types, and a lot of people that are coming back into the workforce have had issues. Now men are being laid off. They're having a similar issue, right? But I'll help women do this. Women have a hard time then sort of asking for a favor back, or saying, hey, can you help me with this job? Can you get this deal for me? We tend to leave a gathering not even knowing what each other do. And so it's just really also giving a leg up. So, women in tech, women in diversity in dynamics, Microsoft, I don't know. I don't think we need a rebrand. I think we need to just come out and show a different face to the,
Yeah. Yeah.
because we kick ass. We're good no matter what you name us.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a stronger voice, stronger force, stronger
Powerful.
banding together. Now, Elle is one of the resident marketers on the panel. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that technology, like the technology sector in general, could definitely get a facelift in the way that we could probably describe what jobs are available better, and describe what it means to be in tech. I mean, it's truly the most confusing experience of my life when someone asks me what I do and I say I work in tech. Like that doesn't mean a whole lot anymore, because that could mean everything. But I think, as a young person who has conversations with the people in my life about some of the problems that I'm seeing in our industry right now, I think for the younger generation, there is, to a certain extent, this idea that there isn't a problem anymore, that surely we must have reached gender parity in the great year of 2025, and when I say the stat, like only 25% of those working in the tech sector are women, people are like, well, surely that can't be true, who are my age. So I think there does need to be an awareness, especially for the young people entering this sector, that, the problem isn't over either. I think when I entered the workforce, there was a part of me that hoped and felt like the problems that, my mother spoke to me about weren't going to be a problem for me. And that wasn't true. And I think that also is a discouraging thing and leads us back to the retention rate, where if we're also not adequately supporting each other because we assume that there is no more problem, that in and of itself needs to be changed. So I don't want to focus on the negative. Like, I'm not saying let's go and only ever talk about what the problem is, but when we ignore the problem and we don't talk about it, I think we're doing the people in this industry a disservice. Because if no one ever names what you're going through, you're going to assume that it's only you who's going through it. And I think that's a problem with the tech sector is we work in silos and we don't always talk to each other, especially because a lot of people are working remote nowadays. And I think we need more connection. And I think that's how I would want to rebrand the tech sector, is to, really bring back the human, and have more conversations like this. And like you said, Jennifer, like, we leave a room and don't even know what the other person does. Like, that can't be the situation anymore. So,
And do you think there's a little bit of danger, and Kelly, I want to bring you in on this question too. Do you think there's a little bit of danger now with AI and where we're heading as a society and as humanity, that, well, I don't need to know what that person does. I'll just go look it up on Chat GPT, or I'll ask Copilot what that was. And do you think AI is going to diminish our humanity and our need for personal connection? And is it going to make it harder? Do you think maybe it'll make it harder?
Yeah, but I mean, I also say that, like, I think that's just a choice we have to make. Like, when email came out, did we think email was going to diminish our humanity, and did we let it diminish our humanity, right? And it's different. AI is a much more grand version of that, but it's like we have a choice to make right now.
Yes, we do.
It's not out of our hands. And, I work with AI every day, and I can confidently say that I hate it sometimes because sorry, you probably shouldn't say that to my boss on this call, but like,
no, you go right ahead. You go. Yeah.
I hate it because it to a certain extent, it does make me feel really disconnected from the world around me. And it makes me feel like lazy to a certain extent, that I'm not using all of these quote unquote soft skills as well that I've worked so hard to develop, because I'm, using these tools. They're great, but there has to be a line. And I don't know, Kelly, if you had thoughts on that too.
I think you can just rebrand that experience a little bit, Al, because historically women have been so resourceful. So what a better time for women in tech than during the rise of AI, because we can all harness this to get ahead in our careers and make progress a lot faster if we use it properly. And I think it just takes some education and some willingness to try there. But Al, I think what's interesting with you being one of the younger women on the call right now is that, you're talking about some of the experiences and that, there's less women in tech than you thought there would be. It's when women leave tech and they leave this industry that it makes it harder for that story to continue. Whereas if we have women that are continuing their career in this industry and they're making it up the ladder and they're bringing more women up with them, I think that's where we can see huge changes in that way of support. We were talking about the different ways that we can support each other. I am often the only woman on a sales call. It happens all the time. If I do have another one or two women with me, I look for ways to support them. So I look for ways that I can elevate their voices in those calls. If they bring up a point, then I want to come off mute and say, hey, what Sally just said is really important. Sally, can you say that one more time? Or can we discuss that further? Or even just in a Teams call, using the reactions and the little emojis for a thumbs up or clapping hands to let people know. And I think, the more that we can help elevate each other's voices, because I think women also have a tendency to be a little bit quieter, or a lot of us are people pleasers, and we're looking, we don't like confrontation, or, we're looking to just find that agreement amongst the group. And I think anytime that you're on a call with another woman and you can help elevate her voice, I think we are doing great things for women in tech. And I think AI can just further that.
I think that is a fantastic point. So I just want to elevate that and say thank you, Kelly. I think that's a great point, and I'm really excited because we can take some ideas away from this panel today and hopefully continue this conversation throughout the year. But I do think it's really important to keep putting ideas in front of people around ways that they can actively contribute to this. So Kim, I know you've been actively contributing to this issue, and what are your thoughts here?
I think for me, I do a lot of implementations. And when I'm doing an implementation, I'll often look for somebody on like the customer's team who maybe could be elevated and get into tech. So far, I've been pretty successful. I've found at least one woman at the last couple of implementations, and kind of doing what Kelly's done in meetings is dragging that person to the meeting and be like, okay, this is what we're going to talk about today, and I want you to present it, and just kind of being there to support her and kind of coach her through, how to give input and kind of how to show her knowledge. So I really, wherever I'm at, I'm trying to find somebody and recruit people. And, there's no better time than during an implementation to get excited about tech, right? We're doing, hopefully fun stuff. Sometimes it's not so fun, but it's a great opportunity to just, wherever I'm at, try and find somebody to elevate. So
I love that. I love that. That's so fantastic. Sherry, what are your thoughts on this?
One of the things that we started doing when I first got into tech was that I realized I was the only woman in cybersecurity. And it was difficult to have a conversation because as a woman, we're asking different questions. And a lot of men weren't able to answer because they're like, why do you care? Like, this is the scope of work. This is what we do. And so what I started doing was partnering with a lot of different universities to help them offer cybersecurity certification. And to date, we've certified over 100 women in cybersecurity, as well as ethical hacking and their network security. And then speaking out, I go to a lot of high schools and I speak to the young girls there, letting them know that there's so many different positions in tech. You don't have to do cybersecurity. You don't have to write code. Look at, we have an eclectic group right here who are doing different things in technology. And we're all, women. And so you could be a marketer in technology. I mean, I don't even think that a lot of these young women know that who are in college for marketing degrees right now. It's about educating them and talking to them about the different positions that they can hold within tech and still getting that voice out there and helping them to become stronger. I belong to Black Women Talk Tech, Black Girls Talk Tech, and Black Girls Code. So I'm really fostering a new way of getting people interested in technology who before were told they could not do it. This is not a field for you. And now we're able to open this up and really, create a bridge. And I love what you're doing, Marie. Every time you're out and you're talking to women about tech, you're inviting them. You're inviting us into the round table, giving us a seat at the table. And I think that is so powerful. And that is where we need to start, letting women know that they have a voice, they have a seat at the table, and we're interested in hearing their innovative ideas because we're absolutely brilliant, right?
I love that. And Sherry, thank you. We need to somehow clone you and multiply you into like 10 people so we can get more of you out there in the community, because I just love what you're doing. It's real boots on the street. It's feet on the ground. It's roll up your sleeve kind of work. And I just love what you're doing. But you just gave me an idea, and I would love it if we would keep a constant think tank going, of being able to somehow bring ideas together to say, well, I'm doing this in my community. Kim, I know you've got a ton of things you're doing that are just so innovative and cool. And Jennifer, I know your mantra every day is, how do I pay it forward? And you're doing these things, and I think Kelly and Elle, you're setting the stage for how to have conversations that we haven't had in a long time. And before this panel started, I remember Jennifer and I were having a quick conversation, and we were talking about, we've been in tech for a while now, and I think when we look back at the early stages of our career, there were very few women, and there was very few. I was the chair of a tech association, and of the 15 members on the board, I was the only woman. And I kept looking around the room thinking, what the hell is going on here? Like, why? That's what started my journey. My journey started when I realized we needed more women at the table, and we needed these different ways of working. I think everyone today on the panel has brought up some just fabulous points, and I want to thank you for that, because they're just excellent. These nuggets that I want to find a way to store these and have these innovative discussions about how we do it, because we're all doing stuff. We all need to do it together. And I think the expression I love the most is a high tide floats all boats.
I like that.
and I think the tide is coming. So I'm going to leave where if there are any questions for all of the panelists, or for any of the panelists specifically today, people on the call, please put your questions in the chat. Happy to have you chime in and ask a question or make a comment. That would be great. And what I want to sort of close with, and the question I want to pose each one of you as we're wrapping up, is why should more women get into tech? Why do we need women in tech? What's the why? Either your own personal why, or just even the why that you'd want to put out there to the world. Jennifer, let's start with you. What's your why?
Well, first of all, Elle really triggered something. I don't know that we're in tech anymore. I think every industry has tech people, right? And so we're all using technology every day. And if you're a lawyer or you're an architect, or whatever industry you're in now, technology is such a big part of your job that maybe it's time to start calling all those women that are in every industry, but using tech day to day, women in tech. So that was, interesting that you said that. And I did take to heart that we do need to talk about it, because quite a lot of successful women would be like, this didn't happen to me. I'm good. And we don't want that, right? We want to continue to say it, but maybe we're labeling it wrong. And maybe that's the rebranding is, in all industries, in order to be successful now, for the most part, you have to have tech. And AI, to me, I hear mostly men intimidated by AI, not women. And that's interesting, because it is going to be a great equalizer in some ways, because it allows us to be more efficient. And we are the queens of doing things quickly and efficiently. So I think the why.
We are,
right? Multitaskers. And this is going to allow us to, really go there. I think the ultimate why is that, why is such a diverse question. Everybody will say a different reason why. And I think it's time for us to really look at it clearly and every day do something to lift someone, and it's, as I said before, we are amazing. There is so many, diverse people, and Cherry, the people of color in this industry it is shameful. 2%. I mean, 2%, come on. And, that we know that there are so many great people. Every single person I talk to says, I'm looking for great people, right? And so to get out there and really have next year not be the why, but the how. And so, once we determine why this is happening, how do we really make a difference? I do scholarships in the junior colleges. I'm trying to do different things, but it really hit me that maybe we don't try to get them into engineering school. Maybe we just say, whatever your major is, technology is here. You need to embrace it. And we need you to really come forward.
I think there's a line formulating in my head. We're all in tech, so take yourself off mute.
Yeah.
And I do think that there's a little bit of that. Kelly, what's your why? What are you thinking here?
Okay, well, I'm going to go for a really very practical answer here. Why not? Like, why aren't there more women in here? Because within this industry, across the board, it is decent pay. There is room for great financial benefit within this industry. This is such a fast growing industry that there is so much opportunity to carve your own career path, move up a chain, jump between partners, start your own consulting business. There's just so much opportunity. And then there's room to be creative as well. Elle and I, both working in marketing, have experienced that as well. But then there's also this really wonderful opportunity to create community or join an existing community within this industry. And I just think that there's not enough education about that for women outside of this industry. And I think that's an important conversation to have, as well as, when you have a female friend that is, looking for a career change or is looking to get back to work after having children, have those conversations. Say, hey, have you ever considered working in tech? Because every single company within the tech industry, every single Microsoft partner needs soft skills that are not coding and are not software development. There's endless job opportunities within this industry, within the Microsoft channel. And I think we just need more awareness around that, because there's so much room for career growth in this industry.
I agree. Okay, Kim, what are you thinking? Why?
Oh wow. It's hard to follow those great answers. I mean, I think I'm gonna go kind of a little bit on the riff with Kelly. To me, yeah, it's like, why not? Early on in my career, I was a director, and I had two interns from a local community or a local college, and they were both biology majors, but they were amazing at tech, right? They could problem solve, because really, biology, tech, it's research and development, right? Figure out how to solve the problem. And one of them said to me, she's like, well, I'm going to graduate now. I got to go use my degree. And I'm like, okay, what's that mean? She's like, I'm going to go work in a lab. I'm like, okay. 6 months later, she was back in tech. So, I mean, I might have called her every month and, it was like, are you happy? Or, well, maybe it was more like weekly. Are you really happy? Like, when are you going to like use your degree enough that you can come back? Like, I'm like, you're amazing at this stuff. So, it was like SharePoint and she was working on Microsoft ERP and things like that, and building some really cool solutions. I'm like, I think, I mean, really, you've used your degree for about 6 months. How about you come back now? We have a job opening. And so she came back, and yeah, she was one of the best people I've seen. But I think, to that point, like, I think a lot of people are like, well, I don't, I have this degree in biology, I'm not sure I can go into tech. And I think, it's that discussion about, no, you totally can. Like, yeah, I get it, you paid for this degree and something else, but you know what, it's the same foundations that you're going to use for a career in tech. And so I think it's just helping people to understand that, just because you didn't take the straight road to it, and you might have kind of taken some twists and turns, it's still something that's a really good option. It's a great place to solve problems, be creative, and really, kind of be the master of your own destiny. So
Yeah, absolutely.
that's my take.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. That was great. Sherry, what about you?
My why is because we must. It is a great opportunity for us to level the playing field, to take the underrepresented and create a representative. We have the ability to change the economical status among communities. Think about that. By helping a woman get into technology, you increase her pay. You change the trajectory of her life, her family's life, and generations to come. It is a must that we get as many people as possible in this industry. And we must do it now. Because when we think about what's going on right now and how the world is changing, how AI is beginning to rapidly take over how we do things, we have to educate women in this field of technology in all aspects, and especially being there for them and knowing that there's over 4 billion women in the world. We should be running and leading And we're still behind because we need a voice like this, a platform like this, where we feel confident and comfortable enough to speak up. So, what I say, I would love to challenge each of you, go out and find someone and try to teach them, mentor them, get them into technology, show them the way, find out what they're good at, and show them how innovative they really are and how they deserve to be here. We deserve as women to have a seat at the table as we move forward into the next decade of high tech and technology.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
my why, because
Here,
we
here.
must.
Here. Thank you. That's fantastic.
Mhm.
And Elle is for as a younger voice on the
Mhm.
panel. What is the why you want to get out there to a younger generation?
You know, I've had a lot of moments in the past couple months, especially, you know, with everything going on around us, where I've found it hard to be in this sector and I want to know what I can do, right? And I called my dad a few weeks ago, who also works in tech, and I was like, I don't know if I know how to engage in, you know, this sector in like a meaningful way right now. And he looked at me and he said, "So the solution is leaving? You think the solution is leaving?" And I said, "No." And he was like, "We need people like you who care in this sector right now." And that's my why, is we need emotionally intelligent, passionate, brave people to come into this sector right now, to come into all industries. We need people who have, you know, a strong understanding of when is it time to put technology first and when is it time to put people first. And I think that my why to young people right now is, not only were we given so many opportunities, whether that be in our education or just growing up, you know, in the generation that we did, we've been given so much awareness of the world around us. We need that awareness in this sector right now and in the workforce in general. So I think my why is that, you know, 1,000 people can be great at coding, but if none of them care about those around them, then it doesn't really matter, in my opinion. You know, we need people that care about other people and this world to come into this sector. And I think, you know, women and underrepresented voices who have long been underrepresented have never been given a fair enough chance to, you know, make themselves known and make names in this industry. And I think so many of them have such a strong understanding of empathy because they haven't always been given it, that it's important that we make space in this sector. Um, and to Kim's point about using your degree, I made a joke at the beginning of this call that I have an English degree. I use my degree every day in this sector and in this role, every single day. So even though there's not a straightforward path necessarily, like directly into, I don't know what even someone with an English degree, the straightforward path is. Like, I don't know what that is.
There's never a straightforward path with an
Yeah,
English
I
degree.
don't, I'm not sure. But that's the thing, is you can make it work. And that's also, I think, my second why, is if you want to really make a job for yourself that you care about and you're passionate about, tech is one of the best spaces to really do that and to, you know, make something unique that really suits you. So
Yeah,
I would say that's my
absolutely. Thank you so much to everyone who's been on the panel today. And I've put the contact us page back up. If you want to email any or all of us and you have questions or ideas or concerns, we love to hear from people. And, you know, I know we've got some familiar names and faces on the call today, including some very strong allies from people who have stepped up and really provided allyship around this topic. And I thank them very much. They're they're on the call, and I think that we need allies as well. And I just want to say, you know, please keep listening to the podcast. We're going to keep at it. We're going to really dig into this topic. Are we still on mute, as we continue to put a book together on stories of women in tech? We are making some interesting inroads there with ideas and content, and we're constantly looking for new ways to make this conversation relevant and real and happen. And all of you got invited on the panel today because I know you are out there doing amazing things. And I thank you for it. I thank you every day, not just on International Women's Day. I thank you 365 days of the year for who you are, the work you do. And I can't wait to see what you do next in 2025. So thank you all for being here. Thank you so much to our audience for participating and listening in on this conversation. Hopefully you walked away with some good ideas. And yeah, I just can't thank you enough. So please do connect. Let's keep the conversation going. And we always close out the Women Talk Tech podcast by saying, thanks for listening. So have a great day, everyone. And thank you so much for being here.